Hello, so this is my demo for HW04, the app development. Um, so to start off with, the first thing I did was create a table in our U of M Flint, um, my personal database. Uh, I created this table right here, HW04, and it's open over here. And as you can see, I put 4 columns in there. Um, ID, which is just a number, and then field 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to use this table and I'm going to insert records and delete them using using Java. So now to the actual code. Uh, the first thing I did, and it's important to note, is that I downloaded um, the Oracle drivers from the Oracle website. So and it's pretty self-explanatory, but I made them part of my class path, so my code can then use those libraries. Okay, so to quickly go over what I did, um, starting in this connection method, I create a new connection. Here's my connection string. As you can see, there's the host, there's the port, there's my username and password, and most importantly, I set that connection to not auto commit. Right, this is important for later on when we're making sure that incorrect transactions don't commit. Okay, so the first thing I can do, let me comment this real quick, is test my connection. So assuming I get a good connection, I should see my program print uh, that I opened the database successfully, and then that after I close it, that all operations are done. So if I hit play, we can see up here that yep, opened database successfully, and the operations were done successfully. All right, so the first thing we should do is first thing is we're going to go over the two methods I created for this project. So the first one is the query database, which very simply, given a query, a select statement, it will execute the select statement and then print out the column names. So as arguments, I have the connection that we created up here. I have, it takes as another argument the query. So specifically right here, you can see the actual query we're going to use, and the column names. This parameter takes one or many column names. That's why they have the dot 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 right there. So in the actual method, I create a statement from the connection. In the statement, I execute the query that is passed as an argument, which gives me a result set. I then iterate through that result set. Each result set represents one record returned from the query. And then for each of the column names specified in this argument, I will print out on a line what the value is. After that, I'll make sure I go to a new line, so just in case there's multiple records. The other method is almost as simple, but has one caveat in it. So this is the execute multiple transactions function method. It also takes the connection that we create above, and it takes a one or multiple transaction strings. Each one of these transactions represents a SQL transaction. So insert, delete, something like that. And just as above, so for each transaction, I will create a statement from the connection, and then I will execute that transaction. Important to note here that this execute update is used when you are doing more than a query. It's when you're actually manipulating the database somehow. If that all executes successfully, I will commit the transactions right here, and the method will quit. For later on, or the last part of the development assignment, I needed to uh, roll back if the changes were not successful. So as you can see here, it's surrounded by a try catch, and basically this catch will catch any SQL exception. So that means that if I try to insert something with too many rows or insert something with the incorrect value, this exception should be raised, and at that point I can roll back everything that's happened since this on this connection, and you'll see that when I demo it. So the first thing we should do is insert some records. So I'm going to put this over here so we can see it. Okay, so each one of these transactions I defined, so it's inserting into a different, each one is an insertion into the homework 4 table. And then as you can see, I pass it to that method created below all 3 transactions. So when we run it, open database successfully, operations done. If I go over here to my table and I refresh, I see all those records have been added. To test the next part, I'm going to query all those records. So here's the query, select all from homework 4, and then here's the method described below, pass the connection, the query, and the fields I want to print out. So when I hit run here, open database successfully, and it shows me all the fields, and those match up to all the field 1 and 2 columns in our database. Alright, finally, well, yes, finally, what I'm going to do is try to break my my execute multiple transactions function or method. So right here I have 3 more transactions. What's important to note here is that I try to add to the same primary key twice. Now obviously this isn't allowed, so it should not allow me to insert, or it should not allow me to execute, or should roll back transaction 4 once it gets to 4 and 5. Once it gets to transaction 6 and realizes there's an issue, it should roll back all these transactions. So I can hit run. As you can see, there's an error. This SQL exception got raised. It says there's a unique constraint violated, which is expected because we added too many primary keys, or the same primary keys. And then if we go into our table here, refresh the data, nothing's changed. So transaction 4 and 5 didn't actually get executed. Now we can prove that even further by inserting 3 transactions for originally, and then calling this second set of transactions, and you'll see that only the second set of transactions gets rolled back. So let's delete all this data. So we have a blank database, or a blank table. Save this. What should happen is all 3 of these transactions should run, get inserted successfully. These 3 transactions should run, an error should occur, and then transactions 4, 5, and 6 should get rolled back. So we hit play. We see the same unique constraint violated. However, when we go over to our table and refresh our data, we do see the first 3 transactions were successful. The second 3 failed because we tried to add too many, or the same primary key. I think that's it for the demo. Thank you.